Hey everyone! So this week is a lot more chill vibes. I'm kind of fighting off a migraine and it's been like really gloomy and rainy. And so I'm just kind of feeling mellow recently. So just kind of going with that tone. But today is a super exciting video. Um, I basically have given away all of these books, so I won't have any books to hold up. I do still own 3 of these, but not the ones that I really want to talk about. So I'm just going to pop them up here as it goes. Today we're mostly going to be talking about Redwall, which is so exciting. I feel like I never talk about Redwall on this channel, and it's a huge part of my childhood and also my adulthood. I've been re-listening to them and I just feel like they're not talked about enough. So let's go ahead and talk about Redwall. I got my notes and I'll pop up different pictures up here for y'all, and let's begin. This is a beginner's guide to the Redwall series. So Brian Jakes is the author. He does amazing audiobooks as well. He narrates his own audiobooks, which is super duper fun. He also has a cast, so different characters are narrating, but he does the narrator of the story, which is so much fun. And his voice is just a big part of my childhood. His voice like just calmed me right down. I love his voice so much. So a big question for books like this is where to begin. To be honest, mostly they're all standalone, so except for maybe 1 or 2 sequels, they're pretty much all standalone. So you really could start anywhere. However, I obviously have opinions. So I think that you should start with Mossflower. Mossflower is technically the prequel. It is the story of Martin the Warrior coming to Mossflower before Redwall is built. And that might sound like you shouldn't start there because Redwall isn't even in existence yet, but I think it's just a beautiful way to start because it's actually talking about Martin the Warrior. The first book that he wrote is Redwall, and it's just called Redwall. I don't recommend that you start here because it's his first novel and it's not really written quite up to snuff, and some of the tropes are not set in stone yet, so it can be a little confusing when you're used to all the other things that happen. I just don't think that it's the best out of his works, so you might not really get a great impression of the series if you read this one first. And also its sequel, Matameo, is super depressing and scary, so I would not have your kids start with Redwall and then go to Matameo. Don't do that. It is not a fun book, Matameo. Still a good book, but not the best, so I would not start with Redwall. I would start with Mossflower, where you really get to know and fall in love with Martin the Warrior. Personally though, that's not where I started. I started with Marielle of Redwall, which is very early in Redwall's history, and I really think that it's a great entry point as well. Like I said, they're standalone books. You can pretty much start anywhere, but Marielle was a great place to start. It really introduces who Martin is in a great way while having great characters that you really fall in love with. So yeah, that's pretty much my recommendations on where to start. I'm trying to think, other than don't start with Redwall, I don't think I have any that are like don't start there. Yeah, don't start with Redwall, don't start with Matameo. The other ones I think should be pretty fun place to start. A couple of kind of disclaimers if you're having your kids read these books. There are some scary themes, so like I mentioned, Matameo, it does have some slavery and it does have some really scary villains, so again, I would have some caution and you should know your kids first if this kind of theme would bother them. Same with Loam Hedge. I adore this book. It is so good, but it definitely has very scary parts and really sad, tragic endings. So I believe it is beautiful, and it is a great way to start some conversations with kids, but probably would not start with it or read too young. The other one is Rackety Tam. Again, one of my very favorites. I love it very, very much. But it does have, I mean, they're obviously mice and rodents, but it has cannibalism in it. So if your kid is really sensitive and scared, I wouldn't start with Rackety Tam because it does have cannibalism in it, though they are animals, so your kid might not notice. And I didn't notice as a kid. I didn't even think about it as cannibalism because they're animals. But if your kid's sensitive, you might want to skip that one. Just generally what it is little mice and moles and hares and badgers all fighting for their freedom against scary rats and ferrets and foxes. So it is just so much fun. I love the beautiful, like, good and evil kind of dichotomy in these books, and I just love the heroism and that a hero could be any shape and size, which I think is just a great, beautiful message, that heroes come from the most unlikely places. You could just be a sailor mouse and you could end up saving the day. And I just think that's so cute and I love it so much. It has a lot of beautiful redemption stories and a lot of pulling yourself out of bad situations kinds of things, and it's just so beautiful. It has a great vocabulary. I do recommend you kind of discuss it with your kids if you're watching it as a kids. I forgot to mention also, I highly recommend it to adults. It's not so simple that it's boring, you know? Like I said, it has a great vocabulary. It has great things to think about, and if you're watching it with your, or reading it with your kids, it's great discussion starters for reading it with your kids. It has wonderful coming of age stories. A lot of they started in simple life and then they grew up a lot in their adventures. I love those, especially Loam Hedge. Loam Hedge is a great example of like teenagers coming into their own and learning life lessons. It's great for preteens. I love that one for preteens. Yeah, it's just really good conversation starters with your kids, and I think it's just the best series for younger or older kids, younger preteens, those kinds of ages. Yeah, and I think that's pretty much it for today, but I did want to put like a top 5 in here. So I would still say recommend start with Mossflower, but here are some of my favorites of Redwall series. My top number 5 would be Hyrule Lane. It is beautiful and it has some fun twists, and the searching for the answers portion of this is just really, really fun. And I just love all the otters. They're so cool. Next, number 4 is Nostalgia Reasons, Marielle of Redwall. I love the romance in this. I love the little adventure in this. And again, like, coming of age story. Number 3, like I said, it's my one of my favorites, Rackety Tam. It is a little scarier, but I think that's probably why I like it. It's pretty amazing. Number 2 is Mossflower. It is right back to where you should start. Again, you absolutely fall in love with Martin the Warrior, and it's so great to see where he comes from and his origin story when everyone's been talking about him this whole time. And then finally, I think my very, very favorite, again, a little bit scary, but it is a great coming of age story and a great heroes come in all shapes and sizes kind of story, is Triss. It's just a great one. I love it so much. And I just highly recommend all of these to you. If you haven't read Redwall, y'all need to. It's such a great series. It's so much fun for all ages, and I'm still reading it and enjoying it to this day as an adult. So I think these are great. If you're anxious, you should read like a chapter a night before bed because it is so soothing and calm, and it makes you think, but not too much. I like reading these also when I have migraines because they're a little simpler of a story, so my brain's not working quite as hard. But yeah, these are great. I listen to the audiobooks while I'm sleeping or while I'm trying to sleep. They're just very peaceful and relaxing. So highly, highly recommend. I hope this gets somebody reading the Redwall series, and I'll see you next time. Bye.